Welcome to Dumpster Diving, where we look at something horrible from the past. Today, Saved by the Bell. The episode begins with the gang making a movie. They borrow the school's camera and set up in the only classroom in the entire building. Jessie plays the teacher, who looks like she came straight out of Little House on the Prairie. Zach is directing and Slater is the cameraman. Zach calls action and...
Cue the hideous creature. Hi, guys.
Hilarious. Slater thanks him for the use of the school's great new camera, and Belding says,
We have waited 2 years to get this video.
Zach calls action again, and Screech walks in dressed in the laziest alien costume I've ever seen. He looks like a giant piece of asparagus with 4 fake eyeballs glued to his head. Screech proceeds to take out a giant straw and suck Jessie's brains out. Kelly then performs her only role in the movie. Dressed as a cheerleader, she bounces into frame to look directly at camera and cheer exposition.
The alien is sucking out her brain!
I'm not sure if Zach is a student of the Zucker Brothers films, or if he's just an idiot. Anyway, Lisa, dressed as a nurse, comes in to confirm that Jessie's head is empty, though she is still somehow alive. Screech goes after Lisa for dessert, and she punches him in the straw, chipping his tooth in real life. As Screech screams out in pain, Zach is only pissed off that he's off script and angrily calls cut. He waves his arm in a big dramatic gesture and causes Slater to drop the camera, breaking it. Look at that great camera. That's certainly worth 2 years. We transition to Zach's room where everyone is gathered to figure out what to do. Jessie laments,
I am president of the school.
not her class, the entire school, and that her reputation can't take this hit. I'm not sure why she's worried. Zach broke the camera, Slater was holding it, and Zach told Belding he was in charge earlier, but whatever. They decide all they can do is buy a new camera, and Slater informs them that the camera costs
Around $1,200.
You'd think for that money they could have afforded a tripod, but I suppose that will have to wait until next year. Screech starts reading out loud for absolutely no reason, and the gang becomes interested in his tabloid. Zach grabs the paper and happens to immediately see a call for alien pictures. The tabloid states they'll pay $1,500 for the best picture of an alien, so they decide to send in a picture of Screech. Back at Bayside, Jessie enters the school dressed in what a racist would think a Spanish person would look like. She's hiding out from Belding because he wants his camera back. He sees her and says she must be new to the school. As the principal, you would think he'd know when a new student transferred in. He should probably also be wondering why this new student is at Jessie's locker or where Jessie is, but no. Zach produces a new one out of his bag and Jessie faints. I assume it must be shock that they were able to take a picture of Screech, send it to the tabloid, win the contest, receive their check, cash it, and buy a new camera all in a couple of days. Everything seems great, and they even have an extra $300 to spend on cocaine. But the next day at the Max, a man who calls himself Johnson shows up. He asks the kids about the alien, and they assume he's from the newspaper. Johnson tells them that he can get them $10,000 if they can arrange a meeting with the alien. With visions of more cocaine in their heads, they all agree. Johnson pulls out his beeper and speaks into it as if this is Star Trek and says that his name is Lieutenant Johnson and he's about to make contact with the alien. Yep, he's from the government. Apparently, the government went looking for evidence of aliens in tabloid papers and then sent morons to confirm. Screech is back from the dentist and his new fillings pick up radio transmissions because why not? The gang try to convince him to defraud a newspaper for drug money. He says that he has to think about it, and he's got to drop a note off at Belding's office. It just so happens that Johnson is in Belding's office. He says that he's from the Air Force's UFO investigation unit and drops some presumably classified information on Belding. Johnson reveals his source to be Zach, and Belding tells him that isn't the most reliable source. Before Screech arrives, Belding is called out of his office because so I guess that's why they couldn't afford a camera for so long. They were too busy drowning large mammals. There is also a subplot of Johnson being really clumsy that is painfully unfunny and goes nowhere. I suppose it's to show what an idiot he is. At the Max, the kids convince Screech to help them out. Max agrees to show Screech some tricks to convince the guy he's really an alien. Apparently Max is cool with the kids committing fraud. That night, Zach and Johnson stand in the only hallway in the school and wait. The lights dim, the lockers open and close, and someone puts on a spooky Halloween CD. All of this is enough to convince the grown adult who made it through the Air Force that an alien is coming. Screech appears looking as stupid as ever. Johnson is convinced at first, but even he starts to question it when Screech's false ears and antenna start falling off. Everyone comes out and it looks like the jig is up. That's when Screech pulls his own face off and reveals a slightly better mask underneath. They cut away so we never see, but I think the implication is that Screech has a mask of his own face over an alien head mask over his real face. I mean, it's obviously just his real face in the shot, but I think that's what they're trying to say. This convinces the idiot from the Air Force, and he reveals his true identity as a government agent. He tells them he's not sure about any money, but they will get medals after they dissect Screech. Without the promise of a cocaine, the gang is no longer interested. And I guess they run? It just cuts to commercial and suddenly Screech and Zach are in Zach's room hiding out. Apparently they thought hiding was better than telling their parents that a stranger wants to murder Screech. Screech uses Zach's computer to write his will, and then prays to God that Zach can go to heaven with him, which is not what you want to hear from someone right before you go to sleep next to them. The next day, Johnson demands that Belding produce the alien by 3 o'clock, or the government will inform PETA what Bayside has been doing to horses all these years. Belding and Zach team up to save Screech. Their big plan turns out to be everyone coming out of the lockers with Screech masks on. The real Screech is there, and it's like the worst game of Where's Waldo. Oh, he's the one who doesn't look like a burn victim where someone's grafted plastic instead of human skin? Johnson leaves in disgrace, and Belding and Zach briefly contemplate teaming up again before running from each other in horror. Thank you for watching this episode of Dumpster Diving. Please click the subscribe button, give us a like if you liked this video, comment below, and thank you so much again for watching. See you next time on Dumpster Diving.